Hello. I've got different kind of lighting going on here. This is raw video recording, all of them. So I'm reading from Dr. Milton Erickson's book. It's about him, Hope and Resiliency by Dan Short, Erickson's wife and Erickson's daughter. This first case report is called Rebecca. It's a little girl with her blanket who's had some trauma. See if I can unwash this picture a little bit. A 7-year-old girl named Rebecca was brought to Erickson's office fully wrapped in a protective blanket. She had not been able to leave her house for several weeks. She thought of going outside was incredibly painful. The thought of going outside was incredibly painful for her and brought on violent symptoms such as vomiting, diarrhea, incontinence, tachycardia, and fainting. Erickson began therapy by discussing in a slow and systematic manner just how much she thought he should unwrap and how much of the blanket should remain in place. This was a long and slow process intended to build a sense of trust and safety. Then, just as carefully, he reviewed with her just how much she felt that she should tell him. Her story goes like this. As she was coming home from school, a large dog, a German shepherd, had bitten her. This frightened her horribly. Then the owners of the dog came out and harshly scolded her for bothering their dog. Later, they made it clear that they resented having to pay to have their dog sent for observation. After recovering from the dog bite, Rebecca was walking home from school again, was attacked by the dog. Same dog. The owners had decided not to lock up the dog because they felt it was entitled to exercise. Again, the owners rebuked the little girl, telling her that they were going to take legal action against her parents. Rebecca stayed home all weekend recovering from the second dog bite. On Monday, she started out for school, but got only as far as the sidewalk and returned home, not feeling well. The next day, she got only as far as the front porch before feeling ill. The third day, she would not leave the house. Erickson's first response was to justify her fear and the associated symptoms. With a look of astonishment, he told her, "I am surprised that you were such a strong and healthy girl." Referring to the traumatic events, he explained, "I'm surprised that you are not a lot worse. I'm surprised that your heart does not beat faster. I'm surprised that you were so strong and healthy and that your fainting does not last longer and that you do not have more diarrhea." Later, Erickson explained his approach by saying, "I had to give that girl some good opinion of her body and her behavior." After sitting and listening to Erickson praise her strengths, Rebecca began to develop a different opinion of herself. She began laughing and joking and wanted to see Erickson's dog, which he had described as a harmless basset. After 6 more visits, Rebecca required no further therapy. That's Rebecca. Next one. Johnny's Big Chassis. A father and mother brought their 12-year-old son to Erickson, stating, "This boy has wet his bed every night of the week since he was an infant." They explained that they had reached the absolute limit of their patience. They had attempted what they considered to be every known method of curing him. His father had whipped him, made him clean his sheets, made him go without food and water, and even tried rubbing Johnny's face in the urine-soaked sheets. That sounds like the way used to treat dogs. I don't even think people treat dogs that way much anymore. The parents had attempted every kind of punishment imaginable, but the boy continued wetting the bed. Erickson responded to their dictatorial comments with an equally strong authoritarian statement. He said, "Now he is my patient. I don't want you interfering with any therapy that I do with your son." Then he sized up the situation. You want a dry bed? I'll do the therapy and you let me and your son alone. You let me make all of the arrangements with your son and keep your mouth shut and be courteous to my patient. In their desperation, the parents agreed to his terms. In a private meeting with 12-year-old Johnny, Erickson described how he had given his instructions to the parents. Johnny was pleased with the conditions that had been established. Next, Erickson told Johnny, you know, your father is 6 foot 2 inches. He's a great, big, powerful, husky man. You are only a 12-year-old kid. How tall are you? Johnny replied he was 5 foot 9 inches. Next, Erickson asked, what does your father weigh? 220 pounds. Erickson noted that the father was a full 220 pounds and not the least bit fat. Next, Johnny was asked how much he weighed. Erickson acted astonished at the answer. You weigh 170 pounds and you are a 12-year-old kid, aren't you? Do you suppose that it has taken a lot of body energy and body strength to build that great big beautiful chassis on a 12-year-old kid? Looking him over, Erickson added, think of all the muscle you have got and the strength that you have got. You have been putting an awful lot of energy into building all of that in 12 short years. What do you think you will be when you are as old as your father? Just a shrimpy 6 foot 2 inches, weighing only 220 pounds. Or do you think you will be taller than your father and heavier than your father? You are just 12 years old and you already weigh 170. Your great big father only weighs 50 pounds more than you, and he is a lot older than you. Johnny pondered these questions, obviously pleased with this new and different perspective. He had never considered his physical growth as a significant accomplishment. Erickson continued, Now they have told me to cure you of wetting the bed, and they have told me of all of their misbehavior in trying to do it. Well, now let's get it straight, Johnny. I'm not going to cure you of wetting the bed. Instead, I'm going to tell you a few things. You have spent an awful lot of energy and strength on building this great, big, beautiful chassis of a 12-year-old boy. You're going to be a football star in college. You're going to be an athlete in college. You haven't got far to go. Only a lousy 51 pounds to outweigh your father. And you have got 9 years until you are an adult. 9 years to gain 51 pounds. You can do that. You know it, and I know it. Then some commentary by Dan Short, etc., et al. In psychotherapy, the clinician's principal role is to act as a catalyst, using the mind and body together as the primary remedial force. In this role, the practitioner is responsible for helping the patient recognize new possibilities. In the preceding example, a boy who can see no alternative to a lifetime of bedwetting is stimulated with novel ideas that create a resilient hope for future possibilities. As Erickson explained, you could see Johnny's mind turning handsprings in all directions. He was getting a new body image of himself as a man. That will be it today. Thank you for letting me read to you, and we'll do some more. They are basic videos. I intend for them to be basic. I'd rather let the content be the richness here. That's what matters to me. If you have comments that you'd like to suggest, please do. We'll do this again next time. Thank you.